the country, and to hear
You mean the terrorists?
Well, right, the domestic terrorists, angry moms now domestic terrorists, per Merrick Garland's memo that local feds at the local level are to start examining strategies for combating violence at the local governmental level, particularly with respect to school boards in the debating over COVID policy as well as curriculum. To hear MSNBC talk about it, you have murders and carjackings and looting of buildings and assaults going on at school board meetings. Have I been missing something? This panel is so interesting because you have the host, this guy named Jason Johnson, who's a bloviating professor from Morgan State University, so you've got the academic. You've got a former FBI special agent in the counterterrorism division, a guy named Clint Watts. So you've got the law enforcement side, FBI, federal. And you've got a former U.S. attorney named Joyce Vance, so now you've got the other side of the justice system, federal, talking about this. And the spike in violence that they're referencing, no. They're not talking about the streets of urban America. They're talking about school board meetings. They're concerned about violence everywhere except where significant violence is actually happening at approaching record rates.
This sort of rise in violence that we're seeing in schools, it's just a reflection of a rise in violence that we're seeing all over the country. We're seeing it in schools. We're seeing it in grocery stores. We're seeing it on airplanes. To me, is this really about people being upset about mask mandates, or are there sort of underlying disruptive forces, white nationalists, anarchists, whatever in this country that are using mask mandates and a public health crisis to sort of wage chaos?
Jason, a year ago, I think we started talking about mobilizations to polling places, and primarily we were worried about local polling locations. And we did see sort of vigilante poll monitoring, surface after the election. We saw people show up at election recounts, and that's only continued for about 10 months now. And it really encapsulates every single issue. It is masks, it is vaccines, it's vaccine mandates. It is anything involving the local level. And if I can say anything since January 6th is the protests and the mobilizations to violence have gone from national to local. It is really school boards, health officials, election officials that are facing a lot of the toughest challenges and threats to violence. And there are no resources and very limited sort of intelligence to preempt this. That's what's so difficult about this. That it's a capacity issue, and one where you're seeing kind of these national movements mobilize on very local locations.
So that's Clint Watts, the former FBI special agent in the counterterrorism division. Okay. So local police are overwhelmed. They don't have the resources. They don't have the capacity to break up a fight that may have occurred at some school board somewhere. Did you catch from 1/6 to now the local level? This is what we said would happen, what we've seen happening, what is happening, which is Trump voters and anybody who does not comply with the government diktat du jour is a domestic terrorist, is either a white nationalist or being inspired by white nationalists. You cannot have a legitimate grievance about your school's COVID policy or about your school's curriculum. It all has to be part of some larger conspiracy to, instigate an insurrection for the purposes of overthrowing our democracy. This is the FBI, former U.S. attorney, and, a Carnival Barker, who's a quote-unquote professor, as the moderator here. Is that what you're seeing at your school boards at the local government level? White nationalists, what they're really saying, white supremacists, inspired vigilantes trying to foment violence at the local level? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Well, for this imagined crisis, they have a very real solution. former U.S. Attorney Joy Vance.
Oh, no.
In some areas with bans on teaching critical race theory, which of course impacts the work that both you and I do and helps us understand how policy developed in the wake of American racism and what we can do to improve policy in the future as school boards are challenged, for instance, over issues of whether critical race theory can be taught in our schools. That too becomes a flashpoint. And I would add to what Clint says, the fact that we're living in the middle of a perfect storm. We have not only this eruption, this not so much an eruption, but a normalization of some of the white supremacist ideology that we've seen emerging and some of the conspiracy theories that we've seen emerging. We also have a country that, to be honest, is not at its best mental health-wise 18 months into a pandemic. And those issues are crashing together now. That's very much what we're seeing. We're going to have some form of a national health restorative mission in this country to right-size things and get them back to normal.
What the hell is a national health restorative mission to bring back normalcy?
I don't know. A bunch of gobbledygook.
I don't know, but it should scare the hell out of you. Whatever that U.S. attorney has in mind, whatever meaning she wants to attach to that national health restorative mission. This is national. Federalizing everything and weaponizing enforcement agencies against people that dissent from the policies of their duly elected officials.
Yeah. And they're labeling conservatives domestic terrorists.
National Health Restorative Mission. Everything, 1/6 has gone local. Is that what you're saying? Jason Johnson, the moderator. Clint Watts, the former FBI special agent. This is rich. Decrying confrontation and violence, of a particular sort that they're imagining. And listen particularly to what Jason Johnson has to say about how, he appreciates the rough and tumble exchange, but peaceful exchange of ideas in a representative republic like ours.
Look, I believe in a rowdy public. I don't care if you want to protest outside Mitch McConnell's house, confront somebody at a restaurant, follow a senator in the bath. Okay, those things are fine. But as angry as the public was about getting free health care 12 years ago, we've never seen anything like we're seeing at these school boards now. What on earth has happened in this country in the last 11 and 12 years that has normalized a level of anger and violence that would have been bizarre just 11 years ago?
Two things, Jason. One, elected leaders and candidates essentially, using the language of violence and mobilization, that is the best way to handle issues. It's not to actually have public debate or discourse. It's not to have a discussion. It is to immediately go into confrontation. And if you went to Steve Bannon's war room, it is called a war room after all, any given day, and you watch what that conversation is about and how it extends out to Fox News, it's very much about confrontation and combat.
Combat.
Steve Bannon and Fox News are the sources of the confrontation and incitement to violence. Really, we got to try to get any one of or all three of these
knuckleheads.
Yes, well, that's probably a more accurate term. Individuals on our show, because I'd love to have that free and open exchange that Clint Watts says he wants. First question to Clint after that statement.
Yeah.
What about movements? I don't know, movements like the identitarian, Black Lives Matter, Marxists, who pass around books like In Defense of Looting, Vicky Osterweil's book, call looting symbolic taking, as 1619 Project founder Nicole Hannah-Jones did. What about environmental activists like that Andreas Halm, who penned a book, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and advocate for property destruction, but of course come short of suggesting going after people individually. What about the trespass on private property? I mean, Jason Johnson just endorsed that when he talked to. Yes,
yeah, people
bathrooms and
bullhorns.
Bathrooms and airplanes are public place of accommodation. I understand that, but he's essentially saying what, for example, Antifa did outside of Tucker Carlson's house, right, banging on the door when his wife was home alone and she's cowered in her kitchenette, waiting for some sort of response from police or from her husband, the combination of the two. That's all acceptable because he favors rough and tumble democracy. But if some mom gets up and says, critical race theory, the idea of teaching our children and treating our children different based on their race, that is a bridge too far. That it runs against my values. It should run against this community's values and the school district's values. Now, she's a domestic terrorist inciting violence?
I mean, the law is dead, really.
These are remarkable statements. Again, former FBI special agent counterterrorism, former U.S. attorney, professor. These are the institutions that have disintegrated before our very eyes, and these are the individuals that are frankly emblematic of why they've disintegrated.
Because no one's been arrested or charged at a school board meeting with aggravated assault or anything like that.
I don't know.
Nowhere in this country.
I don't know if no one has or hasn't. I don't know if no one has or hasn't. The idea that this is a crisis, that there's some epidemic of violence happening at school board meetings where there is vociferous disagreement about policy. Where is the evidence to support that? You just get to say those things. You get to say this is 1/6 redounding to the local level. This is white nationalists, white supremacists, and they're useful idiots trying to overthrow the school board as the means to overthrow the country. I mean, these are unbelievable statements from law enforcement and officers of the court. It should, I mean, it honestly should just frighten you. I don't know how else to say it. It is so appalling and is so emblematic of why these institutions have lost so much legitimacy, and deservedly so. But the problem is, when those agencies lose legitimacy, then you start to descend into this state of nature, might makes right society, which is the direction this country is heading. That's bad news if you want to live in a community that believes in free minds and free thought and free speech and free markets. Unbelievable. It takes a lot to surprise me. That panel was really something. Greg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah. Morning. Thanks for taking my call. Love picking you up on the good side of the lake. I just would like to say 2 quick points. The woman, if I can assume she assumes that gender identity.
Careful there.
If I can assume she uses the pronoun she said, we got to return to normal mental health mission. Well, what if we didn't have mask mandates, didn't have jab mandates, didn't have those CRT in the schools? That would be a return to normal. And as far as the man on the panel who said, what's happened in the last 12 years? The left fomented so much hatred toward Donald Trump over the last 5-6 years. Maxine Waters, you get in their faces. I mean, they fomented the violence. This man on this panel, if I can also assume he identifies as a man and uses the pronoun he, also has no idea that he is the problem.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Corey in Woodlawn.
I think this is why the founders set this country up to be a republic and rejected pure democracy. Look at what this majority is doing to the minority. I mean, it was eye-opening reading Federalist Paper 10. This is ridiculous.
Good comment, Corey. Thanks for the call. Guy in Glendale Heights.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I'd like to bring up the fact that I have a 12-year-old son with special needs. He's now come up with the idea, because of these mask mandates, that if he says he has a tickle in his throat or a little stomach ache, you just send him home right away, and then he's out of school for 3 days. It's happened for about 3 weeks in a row now. So he's at home again today. So they got to step it up with the special needs programs for these kids that are behind. And I want to add one more thing. I'm a Proud Boy, and I defend the rally goers. The Proud Boys are not white racists. It's in our tenets against, we're anti-racism. So
all right,
I want to bring that up, guys.
Thanks for the call, Guy. Mary Kay in Western Springs.
Hi, good morning. I have 3 things I want to say. No, that's not what the people are not acting like a bunch of a-holes at our district or school board district meetings. They're there to get the right things done so their kids can get out of these masks so they can, they need speech therapy. These kids need to be given the services that the districts need them to have. Number 2, this country has done a number on mental health. What did you think was going to happen when you did all this stuff? There was an article in the Journal back at the very beginning of this thing when it was just, I don't know who wrote it, but it was about OCD, about a guy who really had OCD and how this country was going to turn into a bunch of people with OCD. So my friends who have their little depressions and mental health issues, not that they're little, wouldn't even say they're little. I've heard them say, I'm OCD. I've got OCD. They're going to their psychiatrists and their doctors, and now they're using that term. I think I'm developing it with the hand washing and wiping and trying to stay clean. The last thing I want to say is I thought today was Friday, so I was waiting to call until 8:25 because
All right.
yeah,
You still
Open
have more than
Open
24
mic came
hours.
early, yeah.
yeah. How about
Mary
that?
Kay, thanks for the call. We're up against the clock. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. GM plans to challenge Tesla in electric car sales in America, and the GOP open to extending debt ceiling into December. Those stories next. Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to our listeners. You can get great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com right now and click on the radio listener specials. Get deep discounts on MyPillow's mattress toppers, towels, and so much more. For example, Mike is offering a buy one, get one free offer on Giza sheets. My wife and I love these Giza sheets, and I'm sure you will as well. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio listener specials for the buy one, get one free offer on Giza sheets. Enter promo code DOBBS or call 1-800-97...